Hello there, sleepyhead. Settle in and get cozy. Tonight, we're journeying back to the frosty realms of Norse mythology to explore a fascinating and sometimes fearsome family. We'll meet the extraordinary children of the trickster god Loki, Fenrir, the mighty wolf Jörmungandr, the world-encircling serpent, and Hel, ruler of the underworld. Their tales are epic, and now, let's begin our quiet adventure. But just before we begin, if our stories help you drift off, please tap the like and subscribe buttons. In my channel, you can find Norse, Greek, and Egyptian mythology tales. Comment and tell me which myth you'd like to hear next. Your support helps us craft and shape more calm stories for fellow night owls. And now let your shoulders sink softly into the mattress and your mind drift into today's tale. The golden halls of Asgard gleamed always. Light poured from every surface. It reflected off polished gold. It warmed the very air. Yet Loki found no warmth there. He felt only a dull ache. Boredom, a persistent shadow, clung to him. He was a god of mischief. He thrived on chaos. But Asgard offered only order. It was a gilded cage, beautiful but stifling. His brother Thor roared with laughter. He wielded Mjolnir. He fought glorious battles. Odin, the Allfather, ruled with stern wisdom. The other gods feasted. They drank their mead. They sang their praises. Loki watched them all. He felt a sharp disconnect. Their joys were not his joys. Their contentment was not his. A restless energy hummed beneath his skin. It was a familiar sensation. It pulsed like a trapped bird. He longed for something new. He craved the unknown. Asgard held no mysteries for him. Its prophecies were known. Its fates were charted. He yearned for untamed lands. He sought untold stories. His gaze drifted. It passed beyond the rainbow bridge. Bifrost shimmered. It stretched into the cosmos, his eyes fixed on a distant realm. It was shrouded in mist. It was veiled in shadow. Jotunheim, the land of giants. Its very name whispered of wildness. It promised danger. It offered escape. He planned his journey. He moved with silent grace. No one noticed his departure. The gods were too engrossed. Their revelry continued. Loki slipped away. He left the bright, orderly world behind. He stepped onto the path less traveled. He ventured toward the frost-bitten wastes. The air grew colder. It bit at his skin. The golden light faded. It yielded to a silvery twilight. Mountains loomed. They pierced the bruised sky. Their peaks were jagged. They were snow-capped. Glaciers groaned. They carved deep valleys. Ice glittered. It lay thick on the ground. This was Jotunheim. It was a land of raw power. It was untamed beauty. It was a stark contrast to Asgard. Here, nature ruled supreme. It was a harsh mistress, but its wildness called to him. It spoke to his restless spirit. He felt a thrill. It was a sensation he had missed. He walked for days. He saw no living soul, only the vast, empty landscapes. The wind howled. It carried ancient whispers. It told tales of giants. It spoke of their immense strength. It spoke of their deep wisdom. He felt small here. He felt insignificant. It was a humbling experience. Then he saw it. A cavern. It was vast. It was dark. Its entrance was like a gaping maw. Strange symbols were carved above it. They glowed faintly. They pulsed with an inner light. He hesitated for a moment, a flicker of caution. Then curiosity won. It always did. He stepped inside. The air was still. It was heavy. It smelled of damp earth. It smelled of ancient magic. The cavern stretched deep. It descended into the earth. Strange formations rose from the floor. They looked like frozen giants. They were silent sentinels. A soft light beckoned him deeper. It pulsed from a hidden chamber. He followed it. He moved quietly. His heart beat a little faster. Anticipation hummed. It vibrated in his veins. He was about to discover something new. He was about to meet someone. He entered the chamber. It was vast. It was circular. A single figure sat in the center. She was enormous. Her skin was like weathered stone. Her hair was like tangled roots. Her eyes, ancient pools of amber, fixed on him. This was Angaboda, the formidable giantess. Her presence filled the space. It was immense. It was powerful. She radiated ancient wisdom. She exuded raw strength. Loki felt a shiver. It was not of fear. It was of awe. He had never met anyone quite like her. She was a force of nature. She did not speak. She simply watched him. Her gaze was unblinking. It was piercing. Loki felt exposed. He felt seen. All his masks seemed to fall away. His usual charm felt inadequate. His usual tricks seemed pointless. He stood before her, just Loki. He bowed slightly. It was a gesture of respect. He rarely offered it. "Greetings, Angaboda," he said. His voice was smooth. It was unhurried. "I am Loki, son of Laufey." He omitted his Asgardian lineage. It felt irrelevant here. A low hum resonated from her. It was a sound like shifting earth. "I know who you are, trickster," she rumbled. Her voice was deep. It was resonant. It echoed through the cavern. "Your reputation precedes you. Even here." Loki smiled. It was a genuine smile. "And yours, great one," he replied. "The whispers of your wisdom reach even Asgard." He chose his words carefully. He sought to disarm her. He sought to intrigue her. She narrowed her eyes. "Flattery will get you nowhere, Loki," she said. Her voice held a hint of amusement. "Why are you here? Asgard's gilded halls offer more comfort than my humble abode." "Comfort is not what I seek," Loki confessed. His gaze met hers. It held hers. "I seek understanding. I seek knowledge. Asgard offers little of either. Its truths are too bright. Its paths too straight." Angaboda studied him. Her gaze lingered. It seemed to probe his very soul. "And you believe you will find such things here?" she asked. Her tone was skeptical. It was challenging. "Perhaps," Loki replied. He took a step closer. Or perhaps I seek a different kind of truth, one born of shadow, one forged in the wild. He gestured around the cavern. Your world holds more depth than mine. A slow smile spread across her face. It was a rare sight. It transformed her features. You are bold, little god, she observed, and restless. I sense it. A storm brews within you. A storm seeking its purpose, Loki agreed. He felt a pull toward her. It was undeniable. You, Angaboda, seem to hold many purposes, many secrets. She chuckled. It was a sound like falling rocks. Secrets I have, yes, but they are not for the taking. They are earned through patience, through understanding. I am a patient god, Loki lied smoothly, and a quick study. He met her gaze once more. He poured all his charm into it. He let his eyes sparkle. He let his voice soften. Angaboda watched him. She saw through his facade. She saw his true nature. But she also saw something else. A kindred spirit. A spark of untamed fire. She found it intriguing. Tell me, Loki, she began. Her voice was softer now. What troubles your heart? What drives you from your home? Loki hesitated. He rarely revealed his vulnerabilities, but something in her presence invited honesty. Boredom, he admitted. A profound, aching boredom. Asgard cannot hold me. Its rules chafe. Its expectations stifle. And you believe Jotunheim will offer release? She asked. Her tone was gentle. It was understanding. I believe it offers something new, he said. Something real. Something untamed. His eyes swept over her. Like you. Angaboda's eyes gleamed. A flicker of something passed between them. A spark of connection. You are unlike the other gods, she observed. You are not bound by their rigid ways, their narrow minds. Nor do I wish to be, Loki confirmed. He felt a strange sense of belonging. Here, in the heart of Jotunheim, with this ancient giantess, he felt seen. He felt accepted. Their conversations began then. They spoke for hours. They spoke for days. Loki spoke of Asgard. He spoke of its glittering facade. He spoke of its hidden flaws. Angaboda spoke of Jotunheim. She spoke of its ancient lore. She spoke of its raw power. She shared tales of creation. She spoke of the primordial giants. She spoke of the ice and fire. She spoke of the deep magic. Loki listened. He absorbed every word. His mind, always hungry, devoured the knowledge. He found himself drawn to her, not just by her wisdom, not just by her power, but by her quiet strength, by her deep understanding. She saw past his trickery. She saw his true self, the restless, curious, often lonely god. He told her of his pranks. He told her of his mischief. He told her of the chaos he sowed. He expected judgment. He expected disapproval. But Angaboda only listened. She nodded. Sometimes she even smiled. You are a force of change, Loki, she said once. Her voice was calm. A catalyst. Chaos is not always destructive. Sometimes it clears the way for new growth. Her words resonated with him. They offered a new perspective. They validated his nature. He had always been seen as a troublemaker, a villain, but she saw him differently. She saw his potential. Their bond deepened. It was an unusual courtship. No grand gestures, no loud declarations, just quiet conversations, shared understanding, a growing respect, and a powerful, unspoken attraction. One day he reached out. He touched her hand. Her skin was rough. It was cool. It was like ancient rock, but a current passed between them. A warmth spread through him. It was a strange, powerful sensation. She did not pull away. Her amber eyes held his. A silent question passed between them. A silent answer. Their union was not of convenience. It was not of duty. It was of shared spirit, of deep connection. They came together in the heart of the cavern, beneath the glowing symbols, surrounded by the silent sentinels. Their love was not gentle. It was primal. It was powerful. It was a collision of worlds, a blending of magic. Their union was hidden. It was a secret known only to them, and to the ancient stones, and to the whispers of Jotunheim. They knew the gods of Asgard would never approve. Their love was too wild, too unconventional, but their union was also potent. It was destined. For Angerboda, the ancient giantess, carried within her a deep knowledge. She carried the whispers of prophecy. She knew what their love would bring forth. The giants of Jotunheim were old. They were wise. They spoke of powerful births. They spoke of children who would shake the very foundations of the worlds. They spoke of a time of reckoning. Angerboda had heard these whispers. She had felt their truth. She knew her destiny. She knew her role. And now Loki, the restless god, was part of it. He was intertwined with her fate. He did not know the full extent of the prophecies. He did not know the future. But he felt a shift within him, a profound change. This union, this love, was different. It was momentous. He felt a burgeoning sense of power, not just his own, but a shared power, a combined force. He knew instinctively that their children would be extraordinary. They would be unlike any others. The whispers of prophecy continued. They hummed in the very air of Jotunheim. They spoke of a wolf. They spoke of a serpent. They spoke of a maiden of the underworld. Each name a tremor. Each name a future. Loki watched Angerboda. Her face was serene. It was knowing. He saw the ancient wisdom in her eyes. He saw the strength. He knew then that his journey to Jotunheim was not just about escape. It was about destiny. It was about creation. It was about a future he could not yet comprehend. But he felt its presence. He felt its pull. He, the trickster god, was about to become a father, and his children would change everything. The world would never be the same. The universe would hold its breath. The cave's shadows deepened, a hush fell. Angerboda knelt low, her eyes wide. A tremor ran through the earth. From her womb, a new life stirred. It was not human nor Jotun. It was something else entirely. A soft whimper echoed out. Then a low growl, surprisingly deep. A wolf cub emerged, impossibly large. His fur was the color of twilight. His eyes, twin pools of molten gold. He was Fenrir. Angerboda knew this name. He was born with teeth like needles. He was born with claws like daggers. Yet, he was just a babe. Angerboda cradled him gently. His growing weight was already immense. She felt a fierce, protective love. This cub was her son. Loki watched, a strange look on his face. His usual smirk had vanished. His eyes held a flicker of awe. He reached out a tentative hand. Fenrir nudged his palm. A low rumble vibrated through Loki. It was a sound of pride and fear. The cave air grew heavy. A second child was coming. Angerboda breathed deeply, her strength immense. This time, a slithering sound. A form uncoiled, sleek and dark. It was a serpent, tiny yet vast. Its scales shimmered like deep ocean. Its eyes were ancient, wise. It was Jörmungandr, the world serpent. Even as an infant, it coiled. It stretched across the cave floor. It seemed to fill the very space. Angerboda felt no fear. She saw only beauty in its form. She saw only power in its gaze. She reached out to touch its head. The serpent pressed against her hand. It was a gesture of deep affection. This child, too, was hers. Loki stepped back, his breath catching. He stared at the serpent's length. It was growing, even now. Its scales gleamed in the dim light. He felt a surge of unease. This power was truly immense. It was unsettling, even for him. Then a final quiet emergence. A third child came forth. This one was different again. This one was profoundly unique. It was a girl, fragile and small, but her form was unlike any other. One side of her face was fair. Her skin was soft, like rose petals. Her eye was bright, like a gem. Her hair flowed, dark and lustrous. The other side was starkly different. It was touched by decay, by shadow. Her skin there was pale, almost gray. Her eye was sunken, lifeless. Her hair was sparse, like withered grass. Yet she was beautiful still. She was Hel, the queen of the underworld. Angerboda gazed at her daughter. Her heart swelled with tenderness. She saw no flaw in this child. She saw only innocence and grace. She held Hel close to her chest. The child stirred, a faint sigh. A delicate hand reached out. Loki knelt beside them both. He looked at Hel, truly looked. His brow furrowed with concern. This child held such duality. He saw her power, her destiny. He also saw her vulnerability. He felt a pang of protectiveness. The cave was filled with new life. Fenrir whimpered softly. Jörmungandr gave a low hiss. Hel sighed, a gentle sound. Angerboda hummed a lullaby. It was an ancient Jotun tune. It spoke of mountains and stars. Days turned into weeks, swiftly. children grew at an alarming rate. Fenrir was no longer a cub. He was a young wolf, enormous. His paws were the size of dinner plates. His teeth were now formidable fangs. He loved to wrestle with Loki. Loki surprisingly enjoyed it. He would tumble with his son. He would laugh, a genuine sound. Fenrir's strength was incredible. His loyalty unwavering. Angerboda watched them play. Her heart was full of quiet joy. Jörmungandr coiled and uncoiled. He grew longer with each passing day. He filled the cave's vastness. His scales shimmered, an endless mosaic. He would rest his head on Angerboda's lap. He would listen to her stories. He understood every word. His eyes held deep comprehension. He was a quiet, knowing presence. Loki would observe him silently. The serpent's power was undeniable. It was a force of nature. Hel, too, blossomed uniquely. Her dual nature was striking. One side, vibrant and living. The other, still and serene. She moved with quiet dignity. She spoke with gentle wisdom. She saw things others missed. She saw the life in decay. She saw the beauty in sorrow. Angerboda taught her ancient lore. Hel absorbed it like light. Loki felt a profound connection. She was wise beyond her years. He felt a deep, quiet love. The children were Angerboda's world. She nurtured them fiercely. She taught them about their heritage. She taught them to be proud. She taught them to embrace their forms. She taught them to be strong. She prepared them for the world. Loki's feelings were more complex. He was undeniably proud. Their power was extraordinary. Their forms magnificent. Yet a shadow lingered. He knew the Aesir's judgment. He knew their fear of the unknown. He worried for his children's safety. He worried for their acceptance. He kept them hidden, mostly. The cave was their sanctuary. Only a few knew of their existence. Only a few saw their true forms. But secrets rarely last. Whispers began to spread slowly. Travelers spoke of strange sights. Huge wolf tracks in the snow. Unusual markings on trees. A faint, earthy scent in the air. A chilling, resonant hiss. These were not ordinary beasts. Hunters spoke of immense shadows. They spoke of fleeting glimpses. They spoke of a feeling of dread. The rumors reached distant lands. They traveled on the wind. They were carried by ravens. They were whispered by trees. Eventually, they reached Asgard, the golden city high above, the home of the mighty Aesir. Odin, the Allfather, heard them. He sat upon Hlidskjalf. His ravens, Hugin and Munin, perched. They brought him news from all realms. They spoke of Jotunheim. They spoke of a hidden cave. They spoke of strange, powerful births. Odin listened, his brow furrowed. His single eye was keen. He sought answers in the whispers. He sought truth in the rumors. He remembered old prophecies. He remembered dire warnings. He remembered the Norns' words. They spoke of a coming twilight. They spoke of chaos and change. They spoke of Loki's lineage. spoke of a great wolf. They spoke of a world-encircling serpent. They spoke of a queen of the dead. Odin felt a chill in his bones. These births were no accident. These children were no mere creatures. They were harbingers of fate. He consulted Mimir's head. He sought wisdom from the well. Mimir confirmed his fears. The prophecies were unfolding. The children of Loki were born. Their power was immense. Their destiny intertwined with Asgard's. Odin called for counsel. The Aesir gathered in Gladsheim. Thor, strong and resolute. Tyr, brave and just. Frigg, wise and serene. Heimdall, ever watchful. They listened to Odin's words. They listened to the dire news. Odin spoke of the rumors. He spoke of the children's forms. He spoke of their incredible growth. He spoke of the ancient prophecies. He spoke of Ragnarök. The hall grew silent, heavy. A sense of unease permeated. Thor gripped Mjolnir's handle. His face was grim, determined. Tyr's hand rested on his sword. Frigg's eyes were sorrowful. Heimdall's gaze was distant. They understood the implications. They understood the danger. They knew Loki's cunning. They knew his unpredictable nature. But these children were different. Their power was innate. Their destiny preordained. They were a threat to Asgard's peace. They were a threat to their world. We must investigate, Odin declared. His voice resonated through the hall. We must see them for ourselves. We must understand their power. We must assess the threat. The Aesir agreed, reluctantly. A tremor of fear went through them. A sense of impending doom. They knew this was no small matter. This was fate unfolding. This was destiny arriving. This was the beginning of the end, or perhaps a new beginning. Loki felt a shift in the air. He sensed the Aesir's gaze. He knew they were watching. He knew they were coming. He looked at his children. Fenrir, huge and playful. Jörmungandr, vast and silent. Hel, serene and knowing. He felt a surge of defiance. He would protect them. He would keep them safe. He would challenge Asgard itself if they dared to interfere, if they dared to threaten. He would unleash his fury. Angrboda sensed it too. The approaching storm, the growing tension. She held her children closer. She whispered words of strength. She whispered words of courage. They would face whatever came. They would face it together. The cave seemed to shrink. The world outside began to press in. The gentle quiet was fading. The time for hiding was ending. The children of Loki were ready. They were ready for their fate. They were ready for the world. Fenrir stretched a mighty yawn. His teeth gleamed sharp and white. A low growl rumbled in his chest. He was aware of the change. He felt the shift in the air. He sensed the coming confrontation. He was ready to protect. Jörmungandr uncoiled slowly. His vast body filled the space. His ancient eyes held a knowing. He understood the prophecy. He understood his purpose. He was ready to fulfill his role. He was ready for his destiny. Hel sat quietly, her gaze serene. Her dual nature was calm. She saw the past, present, future. She understood the balance. She understood the inevitable. She was ready for her domain. She was ready for her reign. Loki watched his children. His conflicted feelings remained. Pride and fear intertwined. Love and apprehension mixed. He knew their power was immense. He knew their forms were awe-inspiring. He knew they were misunderstood. He knew the Aesir would judge. He knew they would fear. He knew they would act. But he would stand by his children. He would fight for their right. He would fight for their existence. He would fight for their freedom. Angrboda stood tall. Her maternal love was fierce. Her protective instincts strong. She was a mother, a warrior. She would defend her brood. She would face any challenge. She would face any foe. The air outside grew colder. A distant rumble echoed. It was not thunder, but hooves. It was not wind, but wings. The Aesir were drawing near. Their investigation had begun. Their path was set, unyielding. The children stirred, sensing it. Fenrir shifted, alert. Jörmungandr tensed, coiled. Hel's gaze deepened, knowing. The calm before the storm. The quiet before the clash. The world held its breath. The fate of realms hung in balance. The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. The children of Loki were here, and they were not to be trifled with. Their story had just begun. Their power would soon be known. The cave was their last refuge. Soon they would emerge. Soon the world would see them. Soon their names would echo. They would shake the very foundations. They would change the course of destiny. They were born for this. Loki felt a strange peace, a sense of inevitability. He embraced his fate. He embraced his children. He would face the Aesir. He would face the consequences. He would stand by his blood. Angrboda smiled faintly. A fierce, protective smile. Her children were magnificent. They were her legacy. They were her future. They were her power. She would see them thrive. The darkness deepened outside. The stars began to appear. They shone like distant eyes, watching the unfolding drama, waiting for the next beat, waiting for the next chapter. The children of Loki dreamed. A chill wind whispered through Jotunheim. Odin, Allfather, stood tall. His Gungnir gleamed faintly. Beside him, Thor gripped Mjolnir. Its weight felt heavy, even to him. Freyja's cloak shimmered, woven with starlight. Tyr's single eyes scanned the frozen landscape. He saw only stark, unforgiving beauty. The Aesir had come, united. Their purpose was grim. They sought Loki's monstrous offspring. News of their birth had reached Asgard. Whispers grew into fearful shouts. These children threatened the cosmos. They embodied raw, untamed power. Such beings could not remain unchecked. Odin felt the weight of his crown. He carried the burden of foresight. Loki awaited them. He stood defiant. Angrboda, fierce and protective, was at his side. Her eyes burned with a primal fire. Fenrir, the wolf, was a shadow. He paced restlessly, a silent tremor. Jörmungandr, the serpent, coiled. His vast, scaled body was a mountain. Hel, pale and solemn, stood apart. Half of her face was beautiful. The other half was skeletal. Odin's voice boomed. It cut through the silence. "Loki," he began, "these creatures cannot stay." His words were firm. There was no room for debate. Loki snarled, a low, guttural sound. "They are my blood," he hissed. "My children." Angerboda clutched Fenrir's mane. Her knuckles were white. Thor stepped forward. His expression was grim. "Their power is too great," he stated. "Too unpredictable." Jörmungandr stirred. The ground beneath them trembled. Fenrir bared fangs. A growl rumbled in his chest. Hel remained still. Her gaze was fixed on Odin. It held a strange, knowing depth. The Aesir watched, uneasy. They saw the sheer scale of Jörmungandr. He was already immense. His body could encircle the world. They felt the primal hunger in Fenrir. He radiated uncontrolled strength. And Hel, her dual nature, was unsettling. She embodied life and death. This balance was precarious. Fear began to bloom. It was a cold, creeping sensation, even among the mighty Aesir. They had faced giants. They had battled trolls. But these creatures were different. They were manifestations of chaos. They defied natural order. Their very existence was a threat. Odin raised his hand. "We mean no harm," he said. His words were a balm, but they carried an edge. "Yet, we must ensure safety." He looked at Loki. "For all realms," Loki scoffed. "Safety or control?" His eyes narrowed. They glittered with malice. Freyja spoke then. Her voice was soft. It was like a gentle breeze. "Their power is a burden," she murmured. "For them too." She looked at Hel. A flicker of pity crossed her face. Hel's gaze met hers. There was no fear there, only a quiet resignation. The Aesir began to encircle them, not aggressively, but with quiet determination. Tyr held his ground. He observed Fenrir. He saw the wildness in his eyes. Tyr knew sacrifice. He understood duty. This was a necessary act, a painful one. Baldur, fair and bright, felt a pang. He saw the innocence in Hel's gaze. Despite her appearance, he saw the boundless energy of Fenrir and the quiet majesty of Jörmungandr. They were children, after all, but their destiny was dark. Odin's decision was firm. It was made with a heavy heart. He knew the prophecy. He knew the doom. These children were threads. They were woven into the tapestry of Ragnarok. He had to act. He had to sever ties, or at least contain them. He focused on Hel. Her stillness was profound. Her acceptance was unsettling. "Hel," Odin proclaimed. His voice echoed. It resonated with power. "You shall rule a realm." Hel tilted her head. Her dual face was serene. "A realm of your own." Loki roared. "No," he cried. "You cannot do this." Angerboda's eyes flashed. She lunged forward. Thor blocked her path. Mjolnir glowed ominously. Their confrontation was swift. It was decisive. The Aesir were united. Their will was iron. Odin continued. His voice was unwavering. Niflheim, he declared, the realm of the dead. Hel's eyes widened slightly, a flicker of something, not fear, perhaps understanding. You shall govern the departed. She was to be their queen. The air grew heavy. A profound silence fell. Loki stood defeated. His shoulders slumped. Angerboda was restrained. Her struggle ceased. Fenrir whined softly. Jörmungandr lay still. Only Hel remained poised. She seemed to absorb the decree. Her destiny was revealed. It was a dark path, a solitary one. Yet a sense of purpose stirred deep within her heart. She was to be sovereign over the silent, waiting souls. She would guide them. She would judge them. It was her role. A tear traced a path. It fell from her beautiful eye. It ran down her pale cheek. It touched the skeletal side. This was sorrow, a profound, quiet grief for a childhood lost, for a family fractured. But there was also resolve, a strength born of acceptance. Odin stepped closer. His gaze was gentle. You are uniquely suited, he said. His voice was low. To this sacred task. Hel looked at him. Her eyes held ancient wisdom. She understood the need. She understood the balance. She understood her fate. The Aesir watched her. They saw her quiet dignity. They saw her acceptance. A strange respect grew for this half-dead maiden. She carried a heavy burden, yet she did not falter. She did not rail against fate. She embraced it. A shimmering portal opened. It pulsed with dark energy. It was a gateway to Niflheim, the realm of mist and shadow. Hel turned towards it. Her departure was silent. There were no grand farewells, no tearful goodbyes, only a quiet turning away. Loki watched her go. A profound sadness filled him. He had lost a child, banished to the underworld. His heart ached. Angerboda wept silently, her head bowed. Fenrir let out a mournful howl. Jörmungandr lowered his head. Their family was broken. Hel stepped through the portal. The air was instantly cold. It bit at her skin. Mist swirled around her. It clung to her garments. The silence was absolute. It was a deep, resonant silence. It was the silence of eternity. Niflheim stretched before her. A vast, desolate expanse. It was shrouded in perpetual twilight. Gloomy mists hung heavy. They obscured the horizon. Rivers of ice flowed slowly. They carved paths through frozen plains. This was her new home. She felt no fear, no trepidation, only a strange familiarity, as if she had always known. This place awaited her. This was where she belonged. The chill was not unwelcome. It was invigorating. The silence was not oppressive. It was peaceful. She walked forward. Her stride was purposeful. She passed through ancient groves. The trees were skeletal. Their branches were bare. They reached like grasping hands towards the unseen sky. She felt the presence of souls. They were everywhere. They were whispers on the wind. They were shadows in the mist. They were the silent, waiting dead. They had been adrift, lacking guidance, lacking a ruler. Now they had won. Their queen had arrived. She felt their anticipation. Hel raised her hand. A faint light emanated. It pulsed from her beautiful side. It cast long shadows. It illuminated the path. She called out. Her voice was clear. It resonated through the mist. It carried authority. "I am Hel," she proclaimed. Her voice echoed. It filled the vastness. "Queen of Niflheim." The mists parted slightly. Figures began to emerge. They were translucent. They were ethereal. They were the souls of the departed. They gathered before her. They were a silent multitude. Their faces were expressionless. Their eyes were vacant. They had wandered lost for countless ages. Now they looked at her. They felt her presence. They sensed her power. They recognized their sovereign. Hel felt a surge of purpose. It was a powerful, driving force. This was not a punishment. This was a calling. She was not banished. She was enthroned. She was meant for this, to bring order to chaos, to guide the lost, to judge the dead. She began to organize. She established rules. She created structure. The souls were sorted. They were assigned their places. Some were released to other realms. Some remained with her in perpetual slumber. Some were judged for their deeds. She learned their stories. She heard their laments. She understood their regrets. She was fair. She was just. She was merciful. But she was also firm. Her decisions were final. Her judgment was absolute. She was the mistress of death. The realm began to change. It was still dark. It was still cold. But it was no longer chaotic. It was ordered. It was governed. It was a place of rest, a place of judgment, a place of quiet waiting. Thanks to its new queen, Hel found her strength. She found her identity in the depths of Niflheim, far from Asgard's light, far from her family. She forged her own path. She embraced her destiny. She became the queen, the formidable, unyielding queen. Her dual nature was a strength. Her beauty drew them. Her skeletal side reminded them of their own mortality. She was life and death, intertwined. She understood both. She embodied both. She was the perfect ruler for this silent realm. The Aesir returned to Asgard. Their mission was complete. They had separated the children. They had contained the threats, but a lingering unease remained. They had seen Loki's grief. They had witnessed Angaboda's fury. They knew this was not over. Odin felt the weight of his decisions. He had protected Asgard. He had preserved the balance. But at what cost? He had banished Hel. He would soon bind Fenrir. He would cast Jörmungandr into the sea. These were painful acts. He knew the future. He saw the threads of fate. They were dark. They were tangled. But he had to try. He had to prevent Ragnarok, or at least delay it. He had to ensure the survival of his people. The other Aesir were quiet. They reflected on the day. Thor felt a pang of regret for the children, but he knew it was necessary. Freyja felt a deep sadness for Hel's solitary fate. Tyr remained stoic. Duty was paramount. Balder felt a chill, a premonition. He had seen the sorrow in Hel's eyes. He had sensed the growing darkness in Loki's heart. He knew that banishment did not erase destiny. It merely postponed it. The children of Loki would return, but for now there was peace. A fragile peace in Asgard, in the realms. Hel ruled Niflheim. She brought order. She brought justice. She found her purpose in the land of the dead. Her story had just begun. Her reign had just started. The mist swirled around her. It was her constant companion. The silence was her symphony. The souls were her subjects. She was Hel, queen of Niflheim, a solitary figure, a powerful sovereign, forever bound to her realm, forever bound to her destiny. She sat upon her throne. It was carved from ice. It was draped with shadow. Her gaze was steady. It was all-knowing. She watched the souls. She listened to their whispers. She governed their fate. She was the keeper of the dead. Her presence was strong. It filled the vast hall. No living being could enter without her permission. No soul could leave without her decree. She held absolute power over the realm of the departed. She was formidable. She was just. The cold did not bother her. The darkness did not deter her. She was a part of Niflheim, and Niflheim was a part of her. She had found her place in the heart of the underworld. She had found her purpose in guiding the lost. And so the quiet queen ruled her silent realm. Her story was one of sacrifice. Her story was one of strength. Her story was one of destiny. A destiny embraced, a role fulfilled. In the vast, cold expanse of Niflheim, the great hall fell silent once more. A palpable tension filled the air. Odin, still seated on his high throne, slowly turned his gaze. His single, piercing eye now rested upon the last of Loki's monstrous offspring. Jörmungandr lay coiled on the cold stone floor. He was a creature of immense scale, even then. His scales shimmered with an unnatural, sickly green hue. A faint, sulfuric odor seemed to emanate from his very being. The serpent's eyes, the color of tarnished brass, blinked slowly. They held an ancient, unsettling wisdom. The Aesir chieftains shifted uneasily. They exchanged nervous glances. Thor gripped the handle of Mjolnir. His knuckles were white with strain. Even the bravest among them felt a chill. This creature was different. It exuded an aura of primal, untamed power. This one, Odin's voice boomed, echoing through the vast space. It was laced with a deep, resonant gravity. This one poses the gravest threat. He leaned forward slightly. His brow was furrowed in contemplation. Its destiny is intertwined with our own. A dark prophecy foretells its role. Frigg, ever the calm and discerning queen, spoke softly. Her voice was a gentle counterpoint to Odin's thunderous pronouncements. "But what can be done, Allfather?" she asked. "Its strength is already formidable. It grows even as we speak." She gestured towards the serpent. A ripple of scales seemed to pass along his immense body. Aegir, the god of the sea, stepped forward. His long, seaweed-tangled beard swayed gently. "The oceans are vast, Allfather," he rumbled. His voice was like the distant crash of waves. "They stretch beyond all comprehension." He looked at Jörmungandr with a mixture of fear and fascination. Perhaps there it could be contained. Odin considered the suggestion. His eye narrowed thoughtfully. He knew the depths of the primordial waters. They were truly boundless, a place of unfathomable darkness and immense pressure, a place where even the gods hesitated to tread. "Yes," Odin finally declared. His voice held a new resolve. "The great ocean it shall be." He rose from his throne. His majestic form seemed to fill the hall. A powerful aura of divine authority emanated from him. There, its growth can be managed. There, its power might be harnessed. He approached Jörmungandr with measured steps. The other gods instinctively recoiled. A collective gasp went through the hall. Even the mighty Thor took a half-step back. The serpent remained still, its eyes fixed on Odin with an unnerving intensity. It seemed to understand its fate. Odin reached out a hand. His touch was not of a physical nature. It was a touch of pure, divine will. A surge of raw power flowed from his palm. It encompassed the immense form of Jörmungandr. The serpent stiffened. Its scales glowed faintly. A low, guttural hiss escaped its cavernous mouth. With a mighty heave, a movement that defied the very laws of physics, Odin lifted the colossal serpent. Jörmungandr's immense coils unfurled. They stretched across the entire hall. The very air vibrated with the force of the act. Dust motes danced in the shafts of light. The Aesir watched in stunned silence. They held their breath. Odin, with the serpent now held aloft, turned towards the grand entrance. The massive doors swung open as if by an unseen hand. Beyond lay the swirling, chaotic expanse of the primordial ocean. Its dark waters churned restlessly. Odin strode purposefully towards the precipice. The wind whipped at his cloak. The salty spray kissed his face. He stood on the very edge of the world. Below him, the boundless deep stretched out. It was an abyss of unknown mysteries. With a final, decisive motion, Odin cast Jörmungandr into the vast expanse. The serpent's immense body plunged downwards. It descended with astonishing speed. The surface of the ocean erupted. A colossal geyser of water shot skyward. It reached towards the very heavens. The roar was deafening. It echoed across the realms. Jörmungandr plummeted through the cold, dark waters. The initial sensation was one of profound disorientation. the world spun around him. The immense pressure of the deep began to press in. His colossal body tumbled end over end. He was a helpless, falling leaf. The light from above quickly faded. It dimmed to a distant, shimmering memory. He was enveloped by an inky blackness. It was a darkness deeper than any he had ever known. The silence was absolute. Only the faint thrum of his own massive heart could be heard. He sank deeper and deeper. The water grew colder. The pressure became almost unbearable. It squeezed against his scales. It tried to crush his very being. But Jörmungandr was not a creature of mortal flesh. He was a child of gods and giants. He was forged of raw, elemental power. Slowly, imperceptibly, his body began to adapt. His scales hardened further. His muscles grew denser. The water, once a crushing force, now felt like a comforting embrace. The darkness, once terrifying, became a familiar cloak. He was becoming one with the abyss. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Jörmungandr continued to grow. It was a slow, inexorable process. His growth was fueled by the primal energies of the ocean itself. He absorbed the very essence of the deep. He drew sustenance from the currents and the unseen life. His body lengthened. His girth expanded. He began to move. He propelled himself through the water. He swam with a graceful, serpentine motion. He explored the vast, uncharted depths. He encountered strange, luminescent creatures. He passed by ancient, submerged mountains. The ocean was his new domain. It was his world. He felt an innate connection to its vastness. He was destined to be its inhabitant. He was destined to be its master. He was destined to be its guardian. His journey was long. It spanned countless leagues. He swam in ever-widening circles. He followed the invisible currents of the world. He felt an instinctive pull. It was a pull that guided him. It was a pull that led him around the very foundation of creation. He was circling Midgard. He was unknowingly encompassing the world of men. His body was a living, breathing ring. It was a colossal, serpentine barrier. It was a silent, ever-present guardian. The world above him was unaware. Mortals lived their fleeting lives. They built their homes. They fought their wars. They knew nothing of the immense, living circle below. They knew nothing of the serpent that held their world in its embrace. Jörmungandr continued to grow. His size became truly unimaginable. He was so vast that he encompassed the entire world. His head met his tail. The moment was slow and deliberate. It was a culmination of his long journey. His immense head, adorned with ancient, scarred scales, nudged against his own tail. The scales were rough and weathered. They told tales of countless journeys. They bore the marks of the deep. With a soft, almost inaudible asterisk click, he took his own tail into his mouth. It was a gentle, yet firm bite. Not a bite of aggression, not a bite of hunger, but a bite of completion. a bite of destiny fulfilled. His body formed a perfect circle. He was the Midgard serpent. He was the world serpent. He was the Ouroboros. He was the endless loop. He was the guardian of balance. From that moment on, Jörmungandr existed in a state of eternal vigil. His immense coils encircled the world. They held it gently in their embrace. He was a silent, unmoving presence. He was a constant reminder of the world's fragile existence. His very existence maintained the world's balance. His slow, rhythmic breathing caused the tides to ebb and flow. His occasional shifts caused the earth to tremble. His immense weight held the continents in place. The awe he inspired was immense. The fear he instilled was profound. Sailors whispered tales of his colossal form. They spoke of the shadowy depths where he resided. They feared his awakening. They prayed for his continued slumber. His presence was a paradox. He was a creature of immense destructive power. Yet, he was also a force of stability. He was a protector by his very nature. He kept the chaotic forces at bay. He prevented the world from unraveling. He was always growing, not in physical size now, but in power, in wisdom, in connection to the world. He absorbed the energies of creation. He became an intrinsic part of the world's fabric. His eyes, once filled with disorientation, now held a deep, quiet understanding. They saw all. They knew all. They were the eyes of the world itself. They watched over humanity. They watched over the gods. Jörmungandr was a constant, silent vigil. He was a living boundary. He was a testament to the unpredictable nature of fate. He was a reminder that even the most feared creatures could become guardians. His scales, once sickly green, now shimmered with myriad colors. They reflected the hues of the deep ocean. They caught the faint, ethereal light that filtered down from above. They were beautiful in their immensity. He was a creature of myth, yes, but he was also real. He was the foundation upon which the world rested. He was the silent, mighty beating heart of Midgard. He was the serpent that held the world in its infinite embrace. He was a being of profound solitude. He spent his days in the dark, silent depths. His only companions were the currents. His only sounds were the distant echoes of the surface world. Yet, he was never truly alone. He was connected to everything. He felt the tremors of earthquakes. He sensed the fury of storms. He heard the joyous laughter of children. He mourned the sorrow of loss. He was a silent witness to the entire human drama. His immense form stretched across the entire globe. His head and tail were forever joined. This eternal bond symbolized the cyclical nature of life. It represented birth, death, and rebirth. It was a powerful symbol of eternity. The gods, from their lofty perch in Asgard, sometimes felt his immense presence. They felt the subtle thrumming of his colossal body. They knew he was there. They knew he was watching. Even Thor, his destined adversary, felt a strange connection, a sense of awe mixed with a primal, instinctual fear. Their fates were intertwined. Their clash was inevitable. But for now, Jörmungandr was the world's guardian. He was the living boundary between the known and the unknown. He was the protector of the fragile balance. He was the silent, ever-growing heart of Midgard. He was the serpent of the world. And in his quiet, immense slumber, the world found its peace. Here's the expanded version of the story beat, aiming for a richer narrative with more detail, emotion, and sensory depth, while maintaining the gentle, bedtime story tone. Fenrir remained in Asgard, growing with a terrifying swiftness that stole the breath from the god's lungs. His once sleek, playful fur, the color of twilight shadows, now bristled with an untamed power that seemed to hum in the very air around him. He was no longer the charming, clumsy pup that had once tumbled at Odin's feet, but a colossal wolf whose immense form dwarfed even the mightiest of Aesir. His breath, when he exhaled, stirred the tapestries in the great mead halls of Valhalla, rustling the banners depicting ancient victories. His jaws, now capable of swallowing a full-grown horse in a single gulp, hung often slightly agape, revealing teeth like polished obsidian daggers. But it was his eyes that held the most unsettling transformation, pools of molten gold, brimming not with animalistic innocence, but with a chilling, nascent intelligence and a hunger that seemed to reach beyond mere sustenance, into the very essence of power. The gods, who had once delighted in his playful nips and boisterous energy, now watched him with a creeping dread. Their initial awe at his magnificent growth had curdled into a palpable apprehension. The very ground seemed to vibrate with his silent tread, and the air grew heavy with his presence. Even the eternally optimistic Balder cast uneasy glances his way, and Freya, usually so serene, found her hand straying to the hilt of her dagger whenever Fenrir passed by. Odin, the All-Father, felt this creeping dread more acutely than any. It was a cold, metallic taste in his mouth, a premonition that hummed like a discordant string in the symphony of the cosmos. He carried the burden of ancient whispers, prophecies that spoke in hushed tones of a wolf, born of Loki's chaotic blood, who would one day bring ruin to Asgard itself, tearing the very fabric of existence. The weight of this foreknowledge pressed upon his shoulders, heavier than his golden cloak. One twilight evening, as the Bifrost shimmered with the last rays of the dying sun, Odin called a council. The great hall, usually filled with boisterous laughter and the clinking of mead horns, was hushed, save for the crackling of the central hearth. Thor, the mighty thunderer, sat with Mjolnir resting heavily beside him, even he regarding Fenrir, who lay curled in a shadowed corner with a wary, almost fearful respect. His usual booming voice was subdued as he spoke. He grows too fast, Father. His strength, it is unnatural. Odin's gaze swept across the assembled Aesir, his single eye piercing the gloom. We must bind him, he declared, his voice grave, each word resonating with the weight of destiny. Before he becomes utterly uncontrollable, before the prophecies can take root in his burgeoning power. A ripple of agreement, tinged with fear, passed through the gods. They knew the danger, but the solution seemed almost impossible. How could one bind such a creature? Their first attempt was born of desperation and a lingering hope that Fenrir might still possess a vestige of his former, more compliant self. They forged loading, a chain of immense proportions, crafted from the hardest iron known to the realms, its links as thick as a warrior's forearm, clanking with a deep, ominous sound. It gleamed dully in the light of the torches, a testament to the smith's frantic efforts. Fenrir Odin cajoled, his voice a careful blend of command and feigned nonchalance. Test your strength, noble wolf. Can you break this? The other gods echoed his words, their voices a practiced chorus of flattery and challenge. Surely, a creature of your might could snap such a trifle. Fenrir, his golden eyes observing them with an unnerving intensity, seemed to sense the underlying current of fear beneath their honeyed words. He allowed them to fasten the heavy chain around his massive neck, then around his powerful legs, the iron links cold against his fur. A moment of tense silence stretched, broken only by the gods' shallow breaths. Then, with an effortless, almost casual snap, loading broke. Its pieces, twisted and mangled, scattered across the polished floor of the hall, clattering like a sudden hailstorm, a stark testament to Fenrir's burgeoning power. A collective gasp escaped the gods' lips. Their fear deepened, becoming a cold, knotting sensation in their bellies. This was no ordinary beast. They commissioned Dromi, a chain of enchanted steel, imbued with ancient runes and spells of binding. It was lighter than loading, yet shimmered with an inner light, humming faintly with the magic woven into its very essence. Its links were slender, almost elegant, but possessed an unearthly strength. Fenrir, you are strong beyond measure, they praised, their voices now laced with genuine awe. But Dromi is mighty, forged with the very essence of magic. It is said no mortal or beast can break its embrace. Fenrir, his head cocked slightly, allowed them to bind him once more. He tested it, a low growl rumbling in his chest, the ground trembling beneath the god's feet with the sheer force of his effort. The enchanted steel groaned, a high-pitched wail that seemed to vibrate in their very bones. Then, with a sudden, deafening surge of power, a thunderous crack echoed through the hall. Dromi snapped like a dried twig, its magical links shattering into 1,000 glittering shards that vanished like mist, leaving no trace. The air crackled with residual energy, and the gods recoiled, their faces pale, their hope dwindling. Ordinary means, however extraordinary, would not suffice. The realization settled over them like a shroud. Odin paced the great hall, his single eye fixed on the shattered remnants of Dromi, his brow furrowed in deep thought. They needed something more, something beyond the ken of Asgardian smiths. We need the master smiths of Svartalfheim, he declared, his voice low but firm. The dwarves. They alone can weave magic into metal in ways we cannot comprehend. Skirnir, Freya's swift and loyal messenger, known for his cunning and his ability to navigate the treacherous paths between realms, was dispatched immediately. He journeyed through the shimmering Bifrost, down into the subterranean depths of Svartalfheim, where the very air was thick with the scent of molten metal and ancient earth, and the rhythmic clang of hammers echoed endlessly. The ancient dwarves, with their gnarled hands and eyes that glittered like polished gems, listened to Skirnir's plea. They understood. They knew of the prophecies, for their roots delved deep into the very foundations of the cosmos. Fenrir was not just a threat to Asgard, but to the delicate balance of all the 9 realms. They agreed to forge Gleipnir, a creation unlike any other. It was not a chain of metal, but a ribbon, impossibly light and soft, a paradox of pure magic, a testament to their unparalleled craft. Its ingredients were as strange and mystical as the dwarves themselves. The root of a mountain, not the visible part, but the unseen, deep-seated essence that anchors the earth. The breath of a fish, captured in the fleeting moment it surfaces from the silent depths. The spittle of a bird, a tiny, iridescent droplet, imbued with the lightness of flight. The beard of a woman, not a literal beard, but the soft, silken silence of her unspoken thoughts, her inner strength. The sinews of a bear, not the physical muscle, but the unseen, unbreakable will that drives its immense power. And perhaps strangest of all, the sound of a cat's footfall, the utterly silent, weightless grace of its tread, captured and solidified. They worked in secret, deep within their echoing caverns, the sounds of their hammers muffled by arcane wards, weaving the impossible into being. Gleipnir slowly took shape, thin as a strand of silk, shimmering with an ethereal glow that shifted color like the aurora borealis, from the deep purples of twilight to the fiery golds of dawn. It weighed nothing, could be held between 2 fingers without feeling its presence. Yet within its delicate, almost invisible strands lay an unbreakable power, a binding force that transcended mere physical strength. When it was finished, Skirnir returned, bearing the impossibly light ribbon. He presented it to Odin, who held it in his hand, his brow furrowed in disbelief. How could such a fragile, ethereal thing possibly hold Fenrir, a beast that had shattered iron and enchanted steel with ease? It seemed utterly preposterous. The other gods murmured, their skepticism palpable, their fear still gnawing. "This is our only chance," Odin declared, his voice quiet but resolute, his single eye fixed on the shimmering ribbon. "The dwarves assure me its strength lies not in its material, but in the magic of its impossible components." But Fenrir was cunning. He was no longer a simple beast. He would sense a trick, a deception, in such an innocuous-looking bind. He would never consent to be bound by something so seemingly harmless. It was then that Tyr, the noble god of courage and justice, known for his unwavering honor and the strength of his convictions, spoke. His voice, usually firm and clear, was tinged with a quiet resolve that silenced the murmurs. "I will offer my hand," he said, his gaze meeting Odin's, then sweeping across the anxious faces of the other gods. As a pledge of good faith, let him bite my hand. If this ribbon holds him, he loses nothing but his pride, for it will prove that even the strongest can be bound by wisdom. If it fails, then I pay the price, and he will know our honesty. A stunned silence descended upon the hall, thicker and heavier than any fog. To sacrifice Tyr's hand, Tyr, the god of single combat, whose hand was synonymous with his courage and his oath-keeping. It was an unthinkable price, a profound sacrifice. But as their eyes met, one by one, the gods understood the terrible, undeniable truth. It was the only way. Fenrir's cunning demanded such a pledge, such a demonstration of absolute trust, even if it was a ruse. Odin nodded grimly, his heart heavy. So be it, Tyr. Your courage will be remembered throughout the ages, a beacon of sacrifice for the good of all. The words were a benediction, a solemn acceptance of the inevitable. They led Fenrir to the desolate, windswept island of Lyngvi, a place of jagged rocks and churning waves, far from the golden halls of Asgard, a place where his struggles would not shatter the realms. The air was cold, carrying the scent of salt and ancient stone. The sky above was a bruised gray, mirroring the god's grim mood. Fenrir, immense and powerful, stood on the rocky shore, his golden eyes scanning the assembled gods, his tail twitching with an impatient, wary intelligence. Fenrir, Odin began, holding out Gleipnir, its delicate strands almost invisible against the backdrop of the stormy sky. Another challenge. We believe you are strong enough to break this, but we offer it as a test of your incredible might. Fenrir snorted, a plume of hot air escaping his nostrils. This is a child's toy, he rumbled, his voice a low, guttural sound that seemed to vibrate the very ground. I broke loading, a chain of iron and dromi, a chain of magic. Do you mock me with this thread? It was Loki, ever the silver-tongued trickster, who stepped forward, his smile a practiced mask of innocent flattery. Oh, noble Fenrir, it is so light, so delicate. Surely, to refuse such a simple test would imply weakness, would it not? A mighty wolf like you, afraid of a mere ribbon. Fenrir considered this, his massive head tilting, his golden eyes narrowing. He sensed a trick, a subtle manipulation in Loki's words, but the bait of wounded pride was too tempting. Why do you hesitate if it's so weak? He demanded, his voice laced with suspicion. Why do you bring me to this desolate place? We don't fear you, mighty Fenrir, Tyr interjected, his voice clear and unwavering, stepping forward, his eyes unwavering as he met Fenrir's gaze. But we require a pledge of good faith, for this is a challenge of honor, not of strength alone. Fenrir's eyes, cold and calculating, fixed on Tyr. He knew the gods feared him, despite their words. A pledge, he snarled, suspicion hardening his voice. Let one of you place a hand in my mouth as payment. Then I will allow this foolish binding, a sharp intake of breath from the assembled gods. Tyr, however, did not hesitate. His face was a mask of serene resolve, his jaw set. I will, he said, his voice ringing with courage, and without a moment's pause, he stepped forward, his right hand, strong and unwavering, plunging deep within Fenrir's massive, cavernous jaws. The wolf's teeth, like rows of jagged mountains, closed around it, holding it firmly, but without immediate pressure. The air crackled with tension. The gods, their hearts pounding in their chests, bound Fenrir with Gleipnir. It felt like nothing, a mere wisp of air against his fur. Fenrir allowed it, his golden eyes fixed intently on Tyr, watching for any sign of betrayal, any flicker of fear in the god's steady gaze. "Now, break it," Odin whispered, his voice barely audible above the crashing waves. Fenrir strained, his immense muscles coiling and flexing under his dark fur. He pulled, he pushed, he roared a sound that ripped through the air, shaking the very foundations of the island. The rocky ground beneath him trembled, cracks appearing in the ancient stone. But Gleipnir held, immovable, unyielding. It tightened ever so slightly, a gentle, almost imperceptible pressure, yet it was absolute. He was bound by nothing, by a mere ribbon, yet he was utterly trapped. A primal confusion warred, with dawning rage in his golden eyes, his gaze, wide with a terrible, dawning realization of betrayal, turned slowly, agonizingly to Tyr. The god stood unmoving, his hand still within the wolf's maw, his face pale but resolute. With a swift, brutal snap, Fenrir's jaws closed, a sound like a thunderclap. A terrible, agonizing scream tore the air, a sound of profound pain and sacrifice. Tyr's hand was severed, cleanly, brutally. Blood, dark and life-warm, gushed from the stump, staining the gray rocks. The gods, their faces contorted in horror and grief, rushed to Tyr, their cries of anguish echoing across the desolate island. They tore strips of cloth, binding his wound frantically, desperately trying to stem the flow of life. Fenrir, now truly enraged, his golden eyes blazing with an unholy fire of fury and betrayal, thrashed against the unbreakable ribbon. His roars, no longer just of effort, but of pure, unadulterated hatred, shook the world, echoing across the churning sea. Seeing his boundless fury, and knowing they could not allow his monstrous howls to shatter the realms, they drove a mighty sword, its blade humming with ancient magic, through the very roof of his mouth, its hilt planted deep in the earth, silencing his terrible cries. A pained gurgle was all that escaped him now, a choked, impotent sound. From his mouth, where the sword remained impaled, a terrible, ceaseless flow began the River Von, a constant, dark stream of his suffering, a perpetual reminder of his agony and his binding. Fenrir lay bound, his immense form pinned to the earth, his golden eyes burning with an unquenchable hatred, fixed on the distant, shimmering vision of Asgard. He was the harbinger of Ragnarok, and his hate would fuel the final destruction. The gods returned to Asgard, their victory hollow, the golden halls feeling cold and empty. They had bound Fenrir, but at a terrible, undeniable cost. Tyr, the brave, noble god, was maimed, his courage etched onto his very being. The prophecies still loomed, a dark cloud on the horizon. The binding was not a true victory, but merely a temporary peace, a postponement of the inevitable, a fragile dam against a coming deluge. Tyr bore his wound with the quiet courage that defined him, his face stoic, though the phantom ache of his lost hand would forever be a part of him. But the fear lingered in Asgard, a pervasive chill that settled in the hearts of even the mightiest Aesir. Fenrir was bound, yes, but his hatred, fueled by betrayal and pain, grew with every passing moment, a dark, festering wound in the very fabric of existence. Odin knew, with a certainty that chilled him to his very bones, that one day Fenrir would break free. And when he did, the world would indeed tremble, and the final battle would begin. For now, a fragile peace reigned, built on sacrifice, cunning, and terrible necessity. A peace as delicate as the silken strands of Gleipnir itself. A cold wind whipped across the barren plains. Loki stood, a solitary figure, watching them go. His heart ached with a pain he had never known. Fenrir, his brave son, was bound by Gleipnir. His jaws were forced open, a sword jammed between them. The sound of his struggling, muffled growls echoed in Loki's mind. He pictured the spittle, the blood, the sheer agony. This image burned itself into his memory. Jörmungandr, his beautiful serpent child, was cast into the sea. He imagined the vast, cold depths. His child, alone in that immense, dark ocean. He could almost feel the crushing pressure of the water. He could almost hear the mournful sigh of the currents. The thought twisted his insides. Hel, his unique daughter, was banished to Niflheim, a realm of mist and shadow, a place of the dead. He saw her pale face, her gentle eyes. He imagined her shivering in that eternal chill. The injustice of it all was a bitter taste. The gods had taken his children. They had torn his family apart. A deep, simmering rage began to brew within him. It was a cold fire, slow burning. It consumed his usual mischievous spirit. His laughter, once quick and bright, now felt hollow. The joy in his pranks had vanished. He felt a profound sense of betrayal. He had been a part of Asgard. He had stood with the Aesir. He had fought their battles. Yet they had punished his children. They had judged them. They had deemed them threats, not because of their actions, but because of their very nature, because of who they were. This was a cruelty he could not forgive. This was an insult he would not forget. Odin, the All-Father, had stood by. He had watched it all unfold. His one eye, usually so full of wisdom, seemed cold and unfeeling. Loki remembered their easy camaraderie, their shared adventures, their blood-brother pact. Now, that bond felt like a lie, a brittle, shattered illusion. He walked away from the scene of their banishment. His steps were heavy, each one a testament to his grief. The vibrant colors of Asgard seemed dull to him now. The golden halls of Valhalla, once a place of merriment, now felt oppressive. The joyful shouts of the Einherjar were a jarring cacophony. He sought solitude. He retreated to the quieter corners of Asgard. He avoided the boisterous feasts. He shied away from the camaraderie of the gods. Their laughter, once infectious, now grated on his ears. Their boasts, once amusing, now felt empty. He felt a growing chasm between himself and them. his thoughts were dark companions. They whispered of injustice. They spoke of vengeance. He remembered the fear in Thor's eyes, the apprehension in Freya-S, the suspicion in Balder-S. They had feared his children. They had feared what they did not understand. And in their fear, they had acted with cruelty. He brooded for days, then weeks. The vibrant energy that once pulsed through him began to dim. He felt a profound weariness. A deep-seated bitterness settled in his soul. He began to see the Aesir through a different lens. Their justice seemed arbitrary. Their pronouncements self-serving. Their power absolute and unchecked. He remembered the prophecies, the ones that spoke of his children's roles, the ones that spoke of Ragnarök. He had dismissed them, or perhaps simply not taken them seriously. Now, they seemed less like distant whispers and more like inevitable pronouncements. The gods had tried to circumvent fate. They had tried to defy the prophecies, and in doing so, they had only hastened their fulfillment. His mischief, once light and playful, began to twist. It took on a sharper edge, a darker intent. He would play a prank, and then watch the discomfort it caused. He would sow discord, and then observe the ensuing chaos. There was no joy in it anymore, only a grim satisfaction, a quiet, venomous pleasure. He spent hours alone, staring at the vast, star-strewn sky. He thought of Fenrir straining against his bonds. He thought of Jörmungandr circling the world. He thought of Hel ruling over the dead. His children, separated, suffering, because of the gods. He began to resent his own place among the Aesir. He had been an outsider, yes, but he had also been accepted. He had been a part of their family. Now he felt like a prisoner, bound by a false loyalty, trapped in a gilded cage. He remembered the early days, the days of shared laughter, the days of grand adventures. He and Odin, side by side, navigating the realms. He and Thor, sparring with words, a playful rivalry. He and Freya, sharing secrets, a mischievous understanding. Those memories now felt like ghosts, fading, insubstantial. He felt a deep sense of disillusionment. The world, once vibrant and full of possibility, now seemed bleak and predetermined. The gods, once paragons of strength and wisdom, now seemed petty and fearful. He saw their flaws, magnified by his pain. He saw their hypocrisy, stark and undeniable. He started to withdraw further. He would slip away from gatherings. He would avoid eye contact. His usual quick wit became slow and sarcastic. His playful banter turned into biting remarks. The other gods noticed the change. They spoke of it in hushed tones. They attributed it to his grief, but they did not understand the depth of his resentment. They did not grasp the true nature of his changing heart. Frigg, Odin's wife, often sought him out. Her eyes were kind. Her voice was gentle. She offered words of comfort. She spoke of the gods' difficult choices. She tried to soothe his wounded spirit. But her words fell on deaf ears. He saw only their complicity. He saw only their collective guilt. Thor, ever direct, confronted him. He spoke of duty. He spoke of the greater good. He spoke of the need for order. Loki listened, his expression impassive. He saw Thor's earnestness. He saw his simplicity. But he also saw his blindness, his inability to question, his unwavering loyalty to a flawed system. Loki's heart hardened. Each day, the bitterness grew. Each day, the resentment deepened. He felt like a coiled spring, tense, ready to snap. The seeds of future conflicts were being sown. The loyalty he once held for Asgard was unraveling. Thread by delicate thread, he began to think of ways to disrupt their order, ways to challenge their authority, ways to make them feel a fraction of the pain he felt. His mind, always quick and cunning, began to plot, not for amusement, but for retribution, not for sport, but for justice. His own twisted version of it. He remembered the words of the Norns, the weavers of fate. They had spoken of inevitable doom, of the twilight of the gods. He had scoffed at it then. Now, he found himself almost welcoming the prospect. A world without the Aesir. A world where his children might find peace. A world where justice, true justice, might finally prevail. He visited the edges of the realms. He sought out forgotten places. He spoke with ancient beings. He gathered knowledge. He amassed power, not overtly, not in a way that would draw immediate attention, but subtly, insidiously, like a poison seeping into the earth. He saw the complacency of the gods, their belief in their own invincibility, their unwavering faith in their own righteousness. It was a weakness he intended to exploit. It was a vulnerability he would leverage. He would use their pride against them. He would use their arrogance to their downfall. His love for his children was a raw, burning ember. It fueled his rage. It sharpened his mind. It guided his actions. Every thought, every deed was now colored by the memory of their suffering. He would not forget. He would not forgive. He would not rest until he had exacted his price. The halls of Asgard, once a home, now felt like a prison. The faces of the gods, once familiar, now seemed like masks. He felt a profound sense of alienation. He was an outsider once more, but this time it was a choice, a deliberate separation, a conscious rejection of their world. He watched Odin sitting on Aechlidskjalf, his ravens, Hugin and Munin, perched on his shoulders, the very embodiment of wisdom and power. And yet, in Loki's eyes, a symbol of tyranny, a figure of injustice, the architect of his children's pain. The weight of his betrayal was a heavy cloak. It settled over him. It became a part of him. He carried it everywhere. It seeped into his bones. It darkened his spirit. He was no longer the joyous trickster. He was the harbinger of chaos, the instrument of reckoning. He thought of the prophecy of his binding, the one that spoke of his punishment. He knew it would come. He felt it in his bones. But he would not go quietly. He would not submit without a fight. He would make them pay. He would make them regret the day they crossed him. The peace between Loki and the Aesir was indeed unraveling. Slowly, painfully, like a tapestry picked apart, thread by thread, the vibrant colors fading, the beautiful patterns dissolving. What remained was a tangled mess, a precursor to the storm. He sought out the company of the Jotun, the giants, ancient enemies of the Aesir. He found a strange kinship among them, a shared resentment, a common enemy. He listened to their grievances. He spoke of his own. He found a grim satisfaction in their understanding. He began to plant seeds of doubt, whispers of discontent, rumors of vulnerability. He used his cunning. He used his charm. He used his knowledge of the gods' weaknesses. He was a master manipulator. And now, his skills were wielded with a terrifying purpose. The air in Asgard grew heavy. A subtle tension permeated the golden halls. Laughter seemed forced. Conversations were guarded. The gods sensed the shift. They felt the change in Loki, but they could not quite grasp its depth. They did not understand the extent of his transformation. The bond of blood brotherhood with Odin was severed in his heart. It was a wound that would never heal. It was a scar that would forever remind him of their betrayal. He would never again look at Odin with loyalty, only with a burning desire for retribution. He began to think beyond the immediate. He began to plan for the long game, for the eventual confrontation, for the day when all scores would be settled. He would wait. He would watch. He would gather his strength. And then he would strike. His eyes, once sparkling with mischief, now held a cold, calculating glint. His smile, once quick and genuine, now seemed to twist into a grimace. He was a changed being, forged in the fires of betrayal, hardened by the pain of loss. The sun set over Asgard, casting long shadows. Loki stood alone, a silhouette against the fading light. The sound of a distant horn echoed through the air. It was a mournful sound, a lament for what was lost, a prelude to what was to come. He closed his eyes. He saw Fenrir. He saw Jörmungandr. He saw Hel, their faces etched in his memory, their suffering a constant ache in his soul, and with each breath his resolve solidified. His purpose became clearer. He would make them pay. He would make them all pay. The peace was broken. The loyalty was shattered. The bonds were severed. And in their place, a deep, abiding hatred took root. A hatred that would blossom into chaos. A hatred that would lead to the very end of their world. He was no longer just the trickster. He was the architect of their doom, and he would relish every moment of it. The stage was set. The players were in position, and the curtain was slowly, inexorably, beginning to rise. And so, the grand tapestry of myth unfolded, thread by shimmering thread. We have journeyed far, witnessing the birth of giants and gods. Now, let us revisit those remarkable children of Loki. They carved their own destinies in the cosmos. First, we turn our gentle gaze to Hel, mistress of Niflheim. Her domain lay shrouded in perpetual mist. Icy winds whispered ancient secrets through its desolate plains. Yet within this chill, Hell maintained a delicate balance. She was a queen of justice, firm but fair. Her touch brought both cold comfort and stern judgment. The souls of the unheroic found their final rest there. She greeted each one with an unblinking, knowing eye. Her face, half beautiful, half skeletal, reflected this duality. It spoke of life and its inevitable cessation. Hell understood the quiet dignity of death. She oversaw the passage of countless spirits. They arrived from the vibrant world above. Her halls were not places of torment. Instead, they were chambers of profound stillness. Here, weary souls could finally find true repose. They rested beneath the pale, ethereal glow. Hell ensured their comfort, their peace. She was a guardian of the cosmic order. Her rule was absolute, yet compassionate. Even Odin himself respected her chilling authority. He knew the crucial role she played. Her presence brought equilibrium to all realms. Without her, chaos would surely reign. Niflheim remained a testament to her steadfast will. It was a place of quiet power, serene and eternal. Next, our thoughts drift to Jörmungandr, the Midgard serpent. He lay coiled around the entire world. His immense body formed a living, breathing circle. It encompassed all lands and all seas. He was a creature of unimaginable scale. His scales shimmered with an emerald luminescence. They reflected the deep, oceanic currents. His breath stirred the tides. His slow, deliberate movements caused the very earth to tremble. Yet, he remained largely unseen. He was a silent, powerful guardian. His presence was felt more than witnessed. Sailors spoke of his vast shadow. It sometimes fell across the sun. Fishermen whispered of his deep, resonant hum. It echoed from the ocean's abyssal depths. Jörmungandr was not a creature of malice. He was an ancient force of nature. His role was to maintain the cosmic boundary. He kept the great ocean from spilling outward. He held the land masses firmly together. He was a symbol of unity, of containment. His immense power was always present. It was a silent hum beneath the world. He stirred only in great ages. His awakening would herald monumental change. But for now, he slept. He dreamt the slow, deep dreams of the earth. He was a guardian of balance. His slumber protected all life. The world breathed with his every slow exhalation. He was a quiet, colossal presence. His vigil was eternal. Finally, we turned to Fenrir, the great wolf. He remained bound by Gleipnir. This magical chain was woven from impossible things. The sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, these were its components. It was light as silk, yet unbreakable. Fenrir strained against it ceaselessly. His muscles rippled with raw, untamed power. His magnificent fur bristled with frustrated energy. His eyes, once blazing with wild freedom, now held a glint of desperate fury. Each growl vibrated through the very bedrock. It reminded the gods of their deep-seated fear. They had sacrificed a god's hand to bind him. Tyr's brave act was a testament to Fenrir's might. Fenrir was a constant reminder of power unrestrained. The gods knew his potential for destruction. They had seen his rapid growth. They had heard the prophecies. He was destined to break free one day. His eventual liberation would mark the end of an age. But for now, he remained captive. His struggle against Gleipnir was unending. It was a dance of immense power. The chain held firm, yet he never ceased trying. His teeth gnashed, his claws tore at the earth. He embodied the primal force of chaos. His presence was a dark shadow. It loomed over the shining halls of Asgard. He was a creature of raw, untamed might. He was a silent, powerful threat. His fate was intertwined with the gods. His eventual freedom was a certainty, but not yet. Now let us speak of Loki's ultimate transgression. His cunning and mischief had often brought trouble, but one act surpassed all others. It was an act of profound malice. It was the death of Balder. Balder was the shining god. He was beloved by all. His beauty illuminated Asgard. His kindness touched every heart. Loki, in his twisted jealousy, orchestrated his demise. He tricked the blind god Hotter. He guided the mistletoe dart. This was the one thing that could harm Balder. His death plunged all realms into sorrow. The tears of gods and mortals flowed freely. This act was unforgivable. The gods were filled with righteous fury. They had tolerated Loki's antics for ages. His cleverness had often served them. His mischief had sometimes amused them. But this was different. This was pure malevolence. This was a betrayal of the highest order. It was an attack on the very essence of light. The cosmic balance was irrevocably disturbed. They hunted him relentlessly. Loki, ever the trickster, tried to evade them. He transformed into a salmon. He hid deep within a waterfall. But even his cunning could not save him this time. The gods were relentless. They pursued him with unwavering determination. Kvasir, the wisest of all beings, discovered Loki's hiding place. He saw the fishing net Loki was crafting. The gods cast their own net. Loki was snared. He was dragged from the water. His struggles were futile. His capture was swift and decisive. The gods, united in their anger, decided his fate. His punishment would be agonizing. It would be eternal. It would serve as a grim warning. No one, not even a god, could escape justice, especially not for such a heinous crime. They led him to a dark, desolate cave. The air hung heavy with impending doom. The cave walls dripped with cold, damp moisture. A chill permeated the very stone. Loki knew his fate. He saw the grim resolve in their eyes. There would be no mercy, no reprieve. His sons, Vali and Narfi, were brought before him. This was part of his torment. Vali was transformed into a wolf. He was driven by an uncontrollable hunger. In his frenzied state, he attacked his brother. He tore Narfi limb from limb. The gods then took Narfi's entrails. These were no ordinary bonds. They were imbued with dark magic. They were stronger than any iron chain. They were used to bind Loki. They stretched his limbs wide. They pinned him to 3 sharp rocks. One rock supported his shoulders. Another held his loins. The third pierced his heels. He was splayed out, utterly helpless. His body screamed in protest. But the punishment was not yet complete. this was merely the physical agony. Skadi, the goddess of winter and hunting, played her part. She was a fierce and unforgiving deity. A venomous serpent was placed above Loki's head. Its fangs dripped with corrosive poison. Drop after searing drop, the venom fell. It landed directly onto Loki's face. The acid burned his skin. It seared his eyes. It caused unimaginable pain. His screams echoed through the cavern. They reverberated off the cold stone walls. They were screams of pure, unadulterated agony. Yet even in this torment, a flicker of compassion remained. Sigyn, Loki's loyal wife, stood by him. She held a wooden bowl. She caught the dripping venom. She would hold it until it was full. Then she would empty it. She would do it quickly, then return. But in the brief moments she was gone, the venom would fall. It would hit Loki's face. His body would convulse. He would writhe against his bonds. The earth itself would tremble. These were his tremors. These were his earthquakes. The very ground shook with his suffering. His enduring suffering became a cosmic constant. It was a dark, pulsating rhythm in the universe. His agony was palpable. It permeated the realms. It was a constant reminder of betrayal. It was a testament to divine retribution. His fate was intertwined with the world S. His pain was woven into the fabric of existence. Loki, the clever trickster, was now eternally bound. He was trapped in a cycle of unending torment. The serpent's venom dripped. Sigyn caught what she could. The world shuddered. This punishment was not merely for Baldur's death. It was for all his past misdeeds. It was for his mockery of the gods. It was for his cynical disregard for order. It was for his embrace of chaos. He was a symbol of rebellion. He was a warning against hubris. His suffering was a grim spectacle. It was a cosmic lesson for all to witness. The gods had shown their unwavering power. They had demonstrated their commitment to justice, even if that justice was harsh, even if it was eternal. Loki's screams were the only sound in the cave. They were raw, primal sounds. They were the sounds of endless pain. They were the sounds of despair. Sigyn's quiet devotion was a stark contrast. Her love shone in the darkness. It was a fragile light. It was a testament to enduring loyalty. But even her love could not stop the venom. It could only offer brief, fleeting moments of respite. The cycle would continue. The venom would fall. Loki would scream. The earth would tremble. Fate was sealed. His suffering was eternal. He was the bound god. He was the harbinger of Ragnarök. His eventual breaking free would signal the end. But that time was still far off. For now, he was a prisoner. He was a monument to divine wrath. He was a living, breathing testament to consequences. The children of Loki had found their places. Hel in her chilling realm, Jörmungandr encircling the world, Fenrir straining against his bonds, and Loki, forever bound, forever burning. The air in the cave grew heavy with his pain. It was a thick, suffocating presence. The venom hissed softly as it dripped. It was a constant, insidious sound. Loki's body, once so agile and full of mischief, was now contorted. It was a vessel for agony. His eyes, once sparkling with cunning, were now wide with torment. They were fixed on the dripping fangs above. He was trapped in a nightmare. It was a nightmare of his own making. Sigyn, ever watchful, emptied the bowl. The venom splashed onto the cave floor. It sizzled and smoked. Then she quickly returned. Her hands trembled slightly. Her face was etched with sorrow. She loved him still. Despite everything, she remained. Her presence was a small comfort. It was a glimmer of humanity in a place of pure, unending pain. She was a silent witness. She was a constant companion. Her devotion was a mystery. It was a profound act of love. It transcended even the cruelest punishment. And so Loki endured. His screams were the music of his eternal prison. The serpent's venom was his unending torment. His tremors were the earth's occasional shudders. He was a living myth. He was a warning. He was a testament to the god's power. And he was a reminder that even the cleverest trickster could not outrun fate. His story was a dark thread. It was woven into the bright tapestry of the cosmos. It was a tale of consequences. It was a tale of enduring suffering. And it was a tale that echoed through the ages. And so, the vast cosmic tapestry continued to unfurl, thread by intricate thread. The Aesir, those proud gods, had once sought to control every strand. They had feared Loki's children, seeing only monstrous threats. Yet, time, that patient weaver, had revealed a different pattern. Hel, with her solemn gaze and half-darkened face, presided over Niflheim. Her realm was a quiet place, a land of mists and shadows. It was not a place of torment, merely of waiting. There, the souls of the dead found their repose, their ethereal forms like faint, shimmering embers in the cool, still air. They rested, undisturbed by the clamor of the living, their whispers a gentle, almost imperceptible rustle, like dry leaves skittering across ancient stone. The air itself in Niflheim was cool and perpetually damp, carrying the faint, earthy scent of decaying leaves and distant, unseen water. A soft, pearlescent light, emanating from no discernible source, diffused through the omnipresent mist, lending the entire realm an otherworldly, dreamlike quality. She kept the dead in their proper place, a task she performed with quiet dignity, her slender fingers often tracing patterns on the cold, smooth surfaces of the tombs. This was a crucial task, a vital one. Without her, chaos would surely reign. The spirits of the departed might wander freely, their grief or lingering attachments pulling them back to the realm of the living. They could disturb the living, creating endless turmoil, a cacophony of sorrow and confusion. Hel ensured order, a quiet, profound order, her very presence a steady anchor in the ethereal currents of the afterlife. She felt the subtle shifts in the flow of souls, like a skilled sailor feeling the currents of the sea, guiding each one to its rightful, tranquil harbor. She rarely spoke, but her silence held immense weight, a testament to the profound responsibility she bore. Even the faintest sigh from a newly arrived soul was met with her compassionate, unwavering gaze, a silent promise of eternal rest. Jörmungandr, the great Midgard serpent, encircled the world. His colossal body formed a living ring, the sheer immensity of his coils a testament to his ancient power. He held the very fabric of Midgard together, his scales shimmering faintly, reflecting the distant stars like a scattered constellation across his titanic form. They were like ancient, polished emeralds, each one larger than a king's shield, smooth and cool to the touch if one could ever reach them. His slow, rhythmic breathing caused the tides to ebb and flow. The very pulse of the oceans, a manifestation of his slumbering power. The deep, resonant rumble of his inhalation and exhalation echoed through the abyssal depths, a primordial lullaby to the world. He was the world's guardian, his vast form a living boundary between the known and the unknown. This was his solemn duty, one he carried with silent, unyielding dedication. He held the oceans in his coils, their vastness contained within his embrace, his immense strength preventing them from overflowing and drowning the lands. He kept the land from crumbling into the abyss, his body a bulwark against the destructive forces that gnawed at the edges of creation. Jörmungandr's quiet vigilance ensured stability. The world spun safely within his embrace, a pearl cradled by a gentle, colossal hand. Though unseen by mortals, his presence was a deep, reassuring thrum beneath the earth, a constant reminder of the world's enduring resilience. Sometimes, a particularly powerful storm would rage above, and the serpent would subtly tighten his coils, a silent, protective response to the world's distress, a deep, guttural sigh rumbling through the ocean floor, and Fenrir, the mighty wolf, remained bound. His massive form rested on the island of Lyngvi, a place of stark, windswept beauty, where only the hardiest of pines clung to the rocky soil. The magical chain Gleipnir held him firm, its appearance slender, like woven silk, yet it was unbreakable, forged by the cunning dwarves with the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinews of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird. He often slept, a deep, heavy slumber, his breath a gentle, rhythmic huffing that stirred the sparse grass around him. His fur, the color of twilight shadows, was thick and coarse, matted from centuries of rest, yet still radiating an immense, dormant power. His dreams were ancient, filled with forgotten echoes of a time before time, of primordial forests and the first whispers of the wind. His binding delayed the inevitable end, a necessary sacrifice for the continuation of all life. It postponed Ragnarök, the twilight of the gods, a cataclysm that would reshape the very fabric of existence. His contained power was a paradox. It was a threat, a force capable of unimaginable destruction, yet also a safeguard, a dam holding back the deluge. He was a force of destruction, held at bay by a thread of magic, a silent promise that the end was not yet. This gave the gods, and all beings, precious time for stories to be told, for children to be born and grow, for new wonders to be crafted. He was a constant, thrumming presence in the cosmos, a reminder of both peril and preservation. Sometimes, in his sleep, a low, rumbling growl would escape his throat, shaking the very stones of the island, a faint echo of the power held captive within his massive frame. The air around Lyngvi always felt heavy, charged with a latent energy, a silent testament to the wolf's immense, unbound spirit. The children of Loki, Hel, Jörmungandr, and Fenrir were indeed powerful. They were sometimes terrifying in their might, their very existence a challenge to the established order. Yet, each played a crucial role, their destinies woven inextricably into the cosmic order, like vital, vibrant threads in a grand tapestry. They were not merely monsters, as the Aesir had once believed, but essential threads, each one holding a part of the universe in its delicate balance. They were part of the grand design, a design far older and more complex than any single god could comprehend. Even the most feared beings have their place, their own unique purpose, a reason for being that transcends mortal understanding. The world turns on threads of destiny, unseen by most, yet undeniably present. These threads were woven long, long ago by forces beyond memory, by the Norns themselves, spinning the fate of all creation. They connect all things, the proud, golden-haired gods of Asgard, the towering giants of Jotunheimr, the industrious dwarves, the ethereal elves, and the fleeting mortals. They even connect the children of Loki, binding them not to chaos, but to the very order they were once thought to defy. The balance of the 9 realms was delicate, a breathtakingly intricate dance of forces, a cosmic ballet performed over eons. It was maintained, in part, by these very children, the ones the gods had once sought to banish or destroy. The gods had once feared them, their hearts clouded by prophecy and prejudice. They had sought to control them, to banish them to the furthest reaches of the cosmos. But their actions had inadvertently forged stability, like a blacksmith tempering steel, making it stronger and more resilient than before. Hel, the silent queen, ensured the dead remained in their tranquil repose, preventing the realms from being overrun by restless spirits. Jörmungandr, the world serpent, cradled Midgard, his vast form a living barrier against the void. Fenrir, the bound wolf, held back the end, granting countless ages of peace and prosperity. Each was a pillar, a silent guardian, their existence ensuring the cosmic rhythm, a steady, harmonious beat. It allowed the worlds to spin peacefully, each in its own orbit, a cosmic clock ticking with quiet precision. Think of the quiet forests of Vanaheim, where gentle breezes rustle through ancient leaves and crystal streams murmur over smooth stones. They thrived under Jörmungandr's unseen protection, their vitality a testament to his quiet strength. Imagine the bustling markets of Midgard, alive with the laughter of children, the bartering of merchants, and the clatter of artisans. They flourished, safe within his coils, their vibrant life a direct result of his unwavering vigilance. Consider the quiet repose of the dead in Niflheim, their forms at peace, their whispers a gentle hum in the mist. They rested, overseen by Hel's watchful eye, their peace a gift from her compassionate stewardship. Even the looming shadow of Ragnarök was held back, a distant thunder, not an immediate storm. Fenrir's binding gave time, a precious commodity in the grand scheme of things. It was time for stories to be told around crackling hearths, for saplings to grow into mighty trees, for new generations to experience the beauty of the world. This was the strange truth of their existence. Their power, once feared and reviled, now brought a fragile calm, a quiet, enduring calm that settled over the realms like a soft, warm blanket. The sun, Sol, continued her daily journey, her golden chariot blazing across the sky, painting the clouds with hues of dawn and dusk. The moon, Manny, followed closely behind, pulling his own luminous carriage, his gentle light bathing the world in silver. Their movements were steady, reliable, a cosmic clock marking the passage of time. Each sunrise a promise, each sunset a quiet farewell. The stars twinkled in the vast, dark expanse, like countless tiny eyes, ancient and wise, watching over the sleeping worlds. They whispered ancient secrets on the cosmic winds, secrets about balance and purpose, about the intricate dance of creation. They spoke of destiny, woven long ago, a script written in light across the infinite canvas of the night. The roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree, stretched deep, deeper than any mortal could imagine, connecting all the realms in a vast, subterranean network. They drew sustenance from every corner of existence, from the fiery heart of Muspelheim to the icy depths of Niflheim. Its branches reached high into the heavens, cradling the worlds in their embrace, each leaf a universe unto itself. The tree hummed with ancient life, a deep, resonant vibration that permeated all things. Its leaves rustled softly in the cosmic winds, a sound like a million whispered prayers, singing a lullaby to the sleeping universe. It was a song of interconnectedness, of every atom and every soul belonging to the grand design. It was a melody of enduring strength, a testament to the resilience of creation. All things were part of this great tree. All beings had their place within its sheltering embrace, from the smallest ant to the mightiest god. The giants of Jotunheimr lived their lives, their colossal forms moving like mountains, their voices like thunder. The dwarves of Nidavellir crafted their wonders, their hammers ringing on anvils, shaping metal and stone into breathtaking artistry. The elves of Ulfheim danced in their light, their forms ethereal, their songs like the chime of crystal bells. The mortals of Midgard dreamt their dreams, their lives fleeting yet full of passion and purpose. All existed within this cosmic tapestry, each thread contributing to its beauty and strength. All were held in a delicate balance, a symphony of disparate yet harmonious lives. And at the heart of this balance were the children, the very children the gods had sought to cast out, to erase from existence. They were crucial to the cosmic order, not as destroyers, but as maintainers. They were threads, strong and vital, woven into the very fabric of creation, ensuring its enduring strength, its continued existence. So as you drift into slumber, remember this. Remember the quiet strength of Hel, the gentle guardian of the departed. Remember the steadfast embrace of Jörmungandr, the silent protector of worlds. Remember the contained power of Fenrir, the unintended preserver of time. They are guardians in their own unique ways, not through direct intervention, but through their very being. They protect the balance of the worlds, each a vital cog in the cosmic machine. The world turns calmly and steadily, a vast, silent mechanism. It moves on threads of destiny, threads that hum with ancient power. These threads are strong, unbreakable, woven by forces beyond human comprehension. They were woven long, long ago, guiding all things to their purpose, ensuring the unfolding of time, a steady, relentless flow towards an unknown future. There is no need for fear. The grand design is ancient, vast, and all-encompassing, like the boundless night sky. Every being has a part to play, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. Every thread contributes to the whole, adding to its richness and complexity. Even the powerful and the feared, those once seen as monsters, they too have their place, their own vital role in the intricate dance of existence. The air around you is calm now. It is still and peaceful, carrying a faint, comforting scent of clean linen and distant, sleeping earth. The worries of the day have faded, like mist dissolving in the morning sun. They have drifted away, leaving only quiet tranquility. Your breath is soft, and even a gentle, rhythmic hum, a lullaby to your own body. Allow yourself to sink deeper, deeper into the comfort of your bed, feeling the gentle support beneath you. The blankets are soft around you, a familiar texture against your skin. They are a warm, gentle embrace, a cocoon of safety. Your eyelids feel heavy now, as if weighted by peaceful dreams. They are growing heavier still, ready to close. Imagine the quiet vastness of space, a shimmering tapestry of starlight and shadow. Imagine the twinkling, distant stars, each a sun in its own right, burning with steadfast purpose. They are watching over you, their ancient light a silent vigil. They are a silent, comforting presence, their enduring glow a promise of enduring peace. The cosmic tapestry stretches endlessly above you, a blanket of creation, intricate and beautiful. You are a part of it, a precious thread, woven into its very fabric. You are held safe within its folds, cradled, warm and secure in the vast, loving embrace of the universe. The stories of old are like whispers on the wind, gentle breezes of knowledge that stir the leaves of memory. They tell of balance and purpose, of the delicate interplay of forces. They speak of destiny, unfolding slowly, gracefully, like a blooming flower. They remind us that all things belong, that all beings have their place in the grand cosmic dance. Rest now deeply and peacefully. Let the quiet of the night embrace you, a soft, velvety darkness. Let the ancient stories soothe you, their wisdom a gentle balm to your soul. They are echoes of enduring order, whispers of profound calm that resonate through the very air. The world will continue its turning, a silent, steady rotation. The stars will continue their shining, their light a constant beacon. The threads of destiny will hold fast, strong and unbroken. They will guide all things gently, ensuring a peaceful tomorrow, a new dawn full of promise. Good night, dear one. Sleep soundly. The universe holds you safe, its vastness a comforting shield. It cradles you in its immensity, whispering of peace, whispering of rest, a lullaby for the soul. If these whispers brought you rest, you're welcome to subscribe for more calm tales. A gentle, like also guides fellow night owls here.